One of the peculiarities are new forms, electric forms of retrieval, is that they reach back for many centuries to grab things that man had forgotten long ago. Radio brought in the new criticism, depth criticism, penetrating the auditory resonance of words, ignoring the semantics in the dictionaries, going for the resonance, what Eliot called the auditory imagination, retrieving the most ancient primal memories of the race by resonance.
The democratization of technology has allowed more people to produce music. The unfortunate thing is that most of the music they produce is shitty. 10% of it is good, 1% of it is amazing. Like worth being called music in the canon that we know of popular music. Apple Beats breakdown. Why is it happening? It's happening so it can get into cars. People will pay for $9.99 a month.
But most significantly with CarPlay, we're pulling the cord.
Jimmy Jovine. Mike Masnick.
CWF stands with Connect with Fans.
I always dreamed about what it would be like to maybe win one of these someday, but I never actually thought that would happen. I sing country music, so thank you.
React how you want. Like I said, energy you got is good energy. You know, the Confederate flag represented slavery in a way. The way my abstract, that's my abstract take on what I know about it, right? So I made the song New Slaves. So I took the Confederate flag and made it my flag. It's my flag now. Now what you gonna do?
Wow. Kanye West doesn't care about country singers.
You add to that RTB, a reason to buy, and put those things together, and that equals the business model. Now, it seems really, really simple.
Trent Reznor. Ian Rogers.
Look right there. That is, God damn, I almost feel like we should get a freestanding. I'm going to look at it. That is awesome.
Circa 1991, that tattoo is my first tattoo.
I mean, if you have an Apple, you don't have an Apple tattoo. Your company when you got kicked out.
I don't have an Apple tattoo.
Right,
that's better than an Apple tattoo.
I was about to say, having an
Apple
tattoo.
Andre, Dr. Dre. Fuck Napster. I forget his last name. Well, Steve Jobs.
That discussed were subscriptions, which were more complicated, and iTunes' pay-by-the-song approach was easier to work out. 2. Failed early services such as MusicNet, which never went online, and PressPlay had already done much of the heavy lifting as far as haggling with artists, publishers, and attorneys.
Sean Fanning. Let's start with Sean Fanning.
Your reputation was your own. It was not about, like, you know, how well off your family was or how well you dressed.
Nautica.
Sean flew down from Boston to Virginia to meet with some investors.
Nautical has to do again with water, traffic flow. We use, there was a lot of traffic flow on Napster. I think there was like 40 million people. Other metaphors to do with metaphors.
Young, inexperienced, relatively unsophisticated, but smart kids create something
were very important and are very important in this movie.
A gal's reach has got to exceed her grasp, or what's a metaphor?
Final nautical term, metaphorically, is
Edgar Allan Poe.
Brockton, Massachusetts is where Sean Fanning was brought up. It's near water.
One of the key figures in the origins of symbolism and of great influence on Baudelaire and Europe, was very much aware of the technology of his time. In fact, in his famous story of the Maelstrom, he insisted that art made possible survival by pattern recognition. Pattern recognition.
You know, the first version of iTunes that was released had shocking similarity to the UI that Napster was using, and I don't think that was accidental.
Pattern recognition. In the story of the Maelstrom, his sailor...
Sounds like you blew your proposal, Ralphie. Hopefully, you'll be able to redeem yourself with this wedding.
I do wish he would be more romantic.
I was complaining about how unreliable the technology was.
What was Warren's favorite thing?
I don't know. He listened to a lot of really weird stuff. I have very incompatible tastes with him, but
like every roommate.
That's why it was a struggle. I didn't want to make it any easier for him to find that music. But no, I mean, he was complaining a lot, and that's signaling me that
caught in a great whirlpool while out fishing, began to study.
Until there's a problem that could be solved, and I just looked into it and came up with the solution.
In which he was caught, and he noticed that some things disappeared downward and other things reappeared.
CWF.
Reappeared.
Connect with fans.
And came up.
You add to that RTB, a reason to buy, and put those things together, and that equals the business model.
And he attached himself to one of these reappearing objects, and
Sean Fanning solves digital music distribution, creates Napster, gets a lot of traffic, music industry's freaking out, music industry will not negotiate any licensing deals, Napster gets sued out of existence, even though they come up with viable ways to solve the problem, no one will talk to them because they just can't get over the fact of a 19-year-old solving a huge problem. So they sued out of existence, but in reality, it's more so just that it resulted in Napster taking a coffin fitting for the music industry, and then, once the dust settled, and Steve Jobs got a hold of all the engineers that created the Diamond Rio MP3 player.
Request for a temporary injunction against the Rio. They were just shocked when they lost, Watkins says. They had never lost a case before. In October 1999, Diamond sold 200,000 copies of the Rio PMP 300 after that. Meanwhile, over at rapidly recovering Apple Computer, Steve Jobs' latest idea was the digital hub strategy, where the Mac was the center of your lifestyle. As the company's hardware chief, Jonathan Rubinstein, recalls, Digital Hub integrated a number of hip, entertainment-oriented ideas like iMovie and iPhoto. Called Diamond Multimedia the next day about designing hardware to interface between the Rio player and the Macintosh.
And Steve Jobs created iTunes. Or, nails. 9-inch nails. And sealed the coffin shut that Napster created for the music industry. Jimmy Jovine got mad.
I'd like to bring up someone who knows more about music and the music experience than anyone I know. He's worked with amazing artists, from Bruce Springsteen, John Lennon, and countless others. We are thrilled to have him a part of the Apple team. Please join me in welcoming Jimmy Iovine. Jimmy.
Thanks, Tim. Wow, it's really an honor to be here. If you want to follow some artists, there's more confusion for that. So So I reached out to Tim Cook and Eddie Q. I said, guys, can we build
with music that's not in that catalog yet, direct from the artist to you, and a shared experience of beats with it. For artists, we've built an ecosystem we hope can start to provide the tools to grow, nurture,
so on.
This is a representation of his need for fair evolution.
Tools to grow, nurture,
licensing agreements.
That they couldn't license content because their hands were tied with artist contracts and publisher agreements.
sustain careers. One place, one complete thought around music.
Thank you. And that's Apple Music. And the great Trent Reznor.
Is exhibited in Steve Knopper's excellent book, Appetite for Self-Destruction, or Appetite for Destruction, I don't remember the exact title. And Jimmy Iovine realized that the music industry, while now people were paying for music, they weren't paying as much, and the whole thing, the party was over. So they had to come up with non-digital ways to get people to pay. So headphones, merchandise, concerts, things that can't be duplicated digitally. Alright, so that's that. And things flounder for a long time, and downloading singles comes and goes. Project Daisy. I forget whose project it was, if it was a Beats project before they were purchased by Apple. But Project Daisy should at least give me enough credibility for people to understand that I was on this beat before Beats was sold to Apple. Specifically, I was on this beat around September 2013 because I was looking at Alex Winter's Downloaded movie, and I couldn't understand why the music industry would negotiate with Steve Jobs but not with Sean Fanning. And it was pathetically just because Jobs gets kicked out of Apple, invests in Pixar. Pixar makes money. Everybody thinks Steve Jobs is great. Steve Jobs comes back to Apple, says, fuck you, and the rest is history. Everybody just listened to him. And he zenned up the whole shit, and people have been fucking trying to do that shit ever since. White circle. You put anything in a white room with nothing else in it, I could piss in a white room and freeze it and put it in the middle of the white room and put a price tag next to it. Some asshole's gonna fucking buy it. And I'll just call it, something to do with like taxes or culture or pattern recognition, whatever the fuck. And so, Right. So Dre and Jovine create beats. Everybody falls for it because everybody, you know what I mean? It's very Apple-like. It's very simple. It's very, I've heard the headphones are terrible, but it was a great brand because it's very simple and it's status. People always love status. You make something expensive, get one influencer, everyone fucking falls over.
Hey, this is Happy Bungie.
Do it. I'll upload what that reference is to. Project Daisy, you get Ian Rogers, who's got his next tattoo, as evidenced on Jason Calacanis' interview with him on This Week in Startups, which I show in the videos. If you click on the eye in this video, you'll see what I mean. I believe it is the second one, Another Quadrivial Pursuit. as a reference to McLuhan saying, some of my pursuits are trivial and some of them are quadrivial. Okay, try, quad, anyway. Trivial pursuit. Canada, Lord of it. Anyway. Project Daisy. Mike Masnick. Mike Masnick talks about it on Tech Dirt. He says, Ian Rogers, Trent Reznor, sign me up. Trent Reznor proved in Mike Masnick's great case study that giving away music could actually make you money. And the reason why it can make you money is because he's already got a fan base and they want more of a connection than just a file. And you show goodwill by actually saying, pay what you want. And so the limited edition $300 a piece vinyl wooden box sets sold out. They made $250,000 without any advertising except for the site itself saying that, yeah, here's this crazy version. They sold out of it. Ghosts 1 to 4 more or less laid the groundwork for the Social Network, which Reznor won with Atticus Ross, as we all know. So Trent Reznor's going to be in charge of music supervision at Project Daisy. Eventually it just becomes Beats streaming. And then Apple buys it. Now, the downloaded thing and then streaming as a means to compensate musicians because the music industry was so damaged by downloading for free and the loss of music that here's where it's at. It's at this. It's saying that what Netflix is to the living room, streaming is to the car. Streaming audio is to the car. So if you want a Netflix of audio with people paying $9.99 a month, and by 2020, let's say there's like between Canada and the United States, conservatively, I think that there's a very simple chance to say there's going to be 40 to 45 million paying subscribers. This should address David C. Lowery and Damon Krukowski's ideas about the costs of streaming. I hate people that can't aggressively utilize a yellow light to get where they're going.
Napster is the tip of the iceberg. I think you're talking about the proverbial finger in the dike. Fuck Napster.